Hi, friends.
Today is your favorite day, our favorite day.
Chime
Chime
in
in
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So what I wanted to kind of talk about, because I think even though it was one day, and here in Ottawa in particular, we celebrated it over the course of an entire week, was last Friday was International Women's Day. And I had the honor and the pleasure of seeing you speak on a panel of people that were experts in their areas. I mean, you can please go on a little bit more about it, but what I was trying to get at was the topic of the panel was not just to put a spotlight on women in the workplace or about International Women's Day precisely, but it was more of diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So maybe you could add a little bit to that.
Well, when I was organizing it with a colleague at Stratford, that's a consulting firm that I do work with, we were really focused on wanting to do an event for International Women's Day, but everyone's sick. I know I am sick of the same conversation that we're having, certainly here in North America. Might be different. I'm sure it's different elsewhere.
Globally, it's different.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so Sarah and I really talked about it at great length and felt very passionate about it's about business, not about women in business. Mm-hmm. And so it was really fun because we talked about obviously the role that women have to play, that having gender diversity at the executive table, at the management ranks and leadership and throughout actually creates better business results. So it's that diversity and the inclusion of all genders, because it's more than just two genders. Yeah. That's a whole other conversation. The combination of the genders, that is what creates massive business, positive business outcomes.
Right.
And the research is in. And so there's awesome stuff out there now. People have heard me as well talk about That's What She Said by Joanne Lippman, what men need to know. And women need to tell them about working together. It's definitely, this has taken on a life of its own in terms of one of my passions. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, and I think one of the big takeaways that I got being a male in the audience is that was this whole diversity, and I think it's super important that people understand that it's not a numbers thing. It's not like you get a spreadsheet up or you're sitting in the boardroom and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, Peter, we need some more women on the board. And then you just hire. It doesn't work that way. It's not just by the numbers. It should be on me is who is the best qualified person for that position. And if it was me, and I'm kind of jumping all over the map here, but I would love to see in a day and age one day where your resume comes in, and they did touch on it, which really, really kind of made me smile because this is something that burns within inside of me when I've been on the corporate side, and there is that bias or unconscious bias that does happen is you read a name and then all of a sudden there's this bias inside your head. And I love for the time when there'll be no name, no sex on who it is. It's just skill set, and it may say education's on there as well. And that's it. And it goes through a filter. And then eventually when you come to the interview, it's like the door is open and then it is who it is. And you've already done the screening process, and that unbiased thing that we all carry with us subconsciously sometimes.
Sometimes. We do. It's human.
That's been wiped out, or not completely wiped out, but a chunk of it has been taken out.
It's mitigated.
Yeah. And so I just think it's super important that we always are relying or seeing to our businesses to be spearheading these things and making sure that there's inclusion and making sure that everything is diverse. And yes, it's important that our companies that we work for are doing these things. Or if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing it on your own, you're a self-made woman or man and you have your own company, and it falls on you. But I think it's super important that if you are in a situation that you're working for a company, it's what are you doing? Because we all have power, we all have control. And especially if you are reporting to someone, but you do have some control at your level, what are you doing?
We all have control. We all have control only over ourselves, and that sounds so cheesy and cliche, but sometimes that might be all that you do have control over, right. And you still can make choices that support inclusion.
Exactly.
So maybe we could give an example. Let's give an example, because I think it's easy to look at the corporate level, at a leadership level, what people can do. Jay just gave an example. Another one is to have a diversified panel in the interview. Another one is to have a no interrupting rule, because there's a lot of research that shows that women are interrupted 3 times more than men in meetings. So having a no interrupting rule helps everyone, including the introverts being not being interrupted. And if we had a no interrupting rule, I think
I lose. I have to say, and I'm not making excuses for myself. I am guilty. No, I'm totally guilty of doing interruptions. I find that I'm much better, and in a situation where a conversation is kind of like this, I'm more like, let the person finish, and then. But when a conversation is more of an excitable conversation, look out. I can be very person's halfway through a sentence that I've like jumped right in. So guilty.
So those are some ways that businesses can do it. But to Jay's point, let's talk about, and I'd love to hear from you, what are some ways that you as an individual, we as an individual, can actually support some of those changes?
Yeah, because as Louise said, you have the power. Yes, companies have power, but you as an individual, the power that you have for choices that you make and decisions that you're going to do are just incredible. So
let's give an example.
Go ahead.
Well, you had one. Are you buzzing?
Sorry, this is live, and yes, my phone, which is on silent, is way.
It's bothering me. It's distracting me.
It's off. It's gone.
It's buzzing. Examples, what you can do. So this is one that's a bit of a thorn in my side. So it's one that I choose to stand up for, although Jay may argue there are a lot of thorns in my side when it comes to this topic.
It was a perfect time to take a sip, right? Because my mouth was full and I can't say anything. So I'll let her talk, and when on the heels, I'll take another sip.
I really try. You know, when you just have like this passion for something and this fire in your belly, it's just like, Anyway, it's the word girls.
Yeah, that is huge, massive with this gentleman right here. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Drives me crazy.
Thank you for letting me continue. And so in the workplace, when I have heard men, sometimes women do it too, but when men call women girls, I actually will pull them aside. I mean, I try to make light of it in some ways, but at the same time, it's a serious thing for me. I'm a woman, and I feel really disrespected when I'm referred to as a girl. And I know there's no ill intent. We just have a conversation, we carry on. And oftentimes the men have been really taken aback. But that's one example. Whether this example resonates with you or not, it's an example of how just one conversation at a time, you can take leadership over your own, of your own self, and sort of who you surround yourself and how.
On the heels of what you just about to say, the one word that drives me crazy all the time is guys. I was doing some work with a company, and they had me in there working with public relations and dealing with how the staff will deal with the public. And so one of the main things, and a lot of things happens, is verbiage. Verbiage is huge.
Words matter.
It is massive.
Lila Smith will agree. Words matter.
And so you had these young people coming in, greeting people or having introductory conversations with people, and there would be these women coming in, and they'd be like, "Hi guys."
The staff are saying hi guys.
Yes. And then I'd stand back, and then once it was done, I would pull them aside. I'm like, "So those were all men that just walked in?" And then they look at me and go, "No, it was a bunch of women. So why'd you call them guys?" If a bunch of men walked in, would you go, "Hello, ladies"? No, you wouldn't do that. So why is it that when a bunch of women walk in, it's hi guys? And then people say, well, it's just the way society is.
We're going to ruffle feathers with this one.
I know, and I'm probably going to piss people off, but you know what? If we don't start changing now, that norm will never change. it's just, we have come to a point now, and everybody goes, well, it's going from one extreme to the other. But it's the same thing from girls to ladies. It's like, they're not girls, they're women, they're ladies. These women that are walking in, they're not guys, they're women, they are ladies. So next time, if you see a group of people walking in, it's, hi there.
Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
So Jay had mentioned to me before that some of you have asked why I say hi, friends. Actually, it's got nothing to do with the guys, girls kind of thing, although it does help. It's because I actually feel like all of you are my friends. Who doesn't like friends?
Right.
Anyway, so those are examples, whether those resonate with you again or not.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from you. What are some small ways that you can create a greater sense of inclusion in the scope of, like, the sphere of your control, whether it's within your family, within your workplace? Would love to hear. So you know what to do.
So remember, chime in down below, and we'll see everybody next Tuesday.
Bye, friends.
Cheers.